So it's PS5 launch day, and I was able to pick this up in person at Best Buy at 6 a.m. I just got home. It's time to get this out of the box. But before we do that, let's take a look at the box. So you have a representation of the PlayStation 5 here. I got the disc version. You have the representation of the DualShock controller here. PlayStation 5 branding, PlayStation 5 here. It says Sony up top, 8K, and then 4K, 120, and HDR branding on there. And I don't have an 8K TV, but I do have a 4K HDR television set. Down here it says 8K, 4K, 120 Hertz, and HDR content require a compatible display and supporting software. The model of this PlayStation 5 is CFI-1015A. Of course, you have the representation of the PlayStation symbols here. And that is, if you've been paying attention to my channel, that is consistent with the packaging of the other peripherals. So I have my trusty cutter here, which I used for my PlayStation 4 unboxing. Let's take a quick tour around the side of the box. You have a representation of the console standing vertically, as well as a DualShock, the PlayStation 5 branding. Up top you have a handle, a handy carrying handle, and let's show that to you the way it should be shown, the Sony and the PlayStation 5. Plastic handle. I'm not too concerned with the packaging because I don't display my boxes, and really what you want to do is work with what's inside the box. Again, you have a representation of the PlayStation 5 on the side there. On the back, you have a horizontal orientation of the PlayStation 5. Play like never before. Lightning speed, harness the power of a custom CPU and SSD with integrated I/O that rewrite the rules of what a PlayStation console can do. Breathtaking immersion. Discover a deeper gaming experience with support for haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, and 3D audio technology. Hopefully, because I'm very tired right now, hopefully I don't mess up too much during this video. Stunning games. Marvel at incredible graphics and experience new PS5 features. Play a back catalog of supported PS4 games with system update. So, I looked at the entire PlayStation 5 lineup, and I didn't buy a game with this. So I'm going to be playing, what is it, Astro's Playroom? Whatever the Astrobot game is that you get with this, and that's going to highlight the DualSense. Then I'm going to be playing PlayStation 4 games until a game that comes out that I want to play. Up here it says 825 gigabytes. Very odd number. That was probably done in terms of to keep costs down. And then, of course, that does not include what the OS takes up. And there's been a lot of talk about that, but we'll get into it when we actually fire this up. There's a lot of small print down here. We're not going to worry about that. Interestingly enough, there's nothing advertised on the box. Generally, there is some sort of video game that is actually advertised on the box, but I guess they're expecting the system to sell itself. Now, on the side here, it says what the contents are, but we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to dive right in and see what's in here ourselves. I'm going to take my trusty cutter. This time around, my cat isn't around to mess with this. He is somewhere around, but it is very early in the morning, so he's probably still a little tired. I still have both cats when I got the PlayStation 4. So let's open this thing up. You have a box within a box, and what that enables Sony to do is swap these out easily and make as many of these as possible, and then change promotions and whatnot in the outer box. The inner box generally is very plain, maybe with a PlayStation logo on it, and you see that right here, PlayStation logo. Let's get this out of the box here without destroying anything. So the box is very plain, nothing on it except for this PlayStation logo. Now I believe on the bottom is the serial number. We're not going to get into that. So let's open this up here. Oh, here he is. My cat is here. We'll see if he makes it into frame. So always curious about something. So let's see. Okay, it doesn't open up. We're going to have to slide out the contents. So let's start with this box here. It's like Christmas early. It looks like I'm opening this upside down. So here we go. So first thing is first, we have documentation. Generally, you don't necessarily have to look at that, but it's good to have. Two booklets here. One is full color, and then the other one is black and white. Here is the power cord, the figure 8 power cord. That's very familiar to everybody. Okay, this is the stand. Whether you place this vertically or horizontally, you're going to need this. So, there we go. And does it spin? Yes, it does move. So, it's plastic, obviously. It's a matte black plastic, and there's not really much to it other than the unique shape. You do have two rubberized pads here because that's where it would come in contact with the PlayStation 5. It does rotate, as you saw, so depending if you're going to place this vertically, which I'm going to attempt to do, depending on if it's going to fit in my entertainment center. We'll see if that works. So this kind of moves up and down here, and that is probably, yes. So you don't need it up if you're going to be placing it vertically, and if you're placing it horizontally, you will need it up, and that's why it kind of pushes up. The interesting thing is that, I don't know, we'll see, but it doesn't, you would think that this would be on the side here. It's kind of not symmetrical there. But nothing about this system is very symmetrical unless you do get the all-digital version. HDMI cord, let's see if it has Sony branding on it. Interestingly enough, it does not. So we are going to be using this HDMI cord and try and keep everything consistent with what came in the box. The DualSense, I've heard so much about this. We will get into this a little bit more in depth in a minute, but we'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek right there. And here is the cord, that the USB-C cord that you would use to charge the DualShock, or not DualShock, DualSense. And I actually, if you paid attention to my channel, you saw that I posted yesterday a video on the charging dock. So that's what I'm going to be using, but I might need to use that cord to sync it with the system. We'll see. All right, and it looks like we're going straight to the system here. So what we have is a fiber board, a paper board, some sort of cardboard packaging here. There we go. I think it's upside down because the disk drive is there. Again, I'm going to be attempting to put this in a vertical orientation, but I might have to do a horizontal orientation. We'll see. Let's get it out of the packaging here without dropping it. You hear a lot about this being the heaviest, biggest PlayStation ever. And here it is. So, interesting. PlayStation 5, not the easiest thing to get into frame here, but if you know about the console, you know that it has a very unique style. Probably nothing on it is, no straight lines or anything short of maybe the bottom and maybe the drive tray. But you have a curvature on the side panel, and supposedly you can pop these off. I'm not going to worry about that right now. In this lighting, it looks somewhat gray, actually, but I know that it is white. It's interesting, it looks a little bit worn here, here and here. I don't know if that's because of the casing on the inside. Maybe there's some sort of tab on the inside, but it's interesting. It does look worn there, and there, or maybe something happened in manufacturing there as well. It has sort of a gray tone to it, but it just might be the lighting. It is very gray outside. I have a lot of natural light coming in right now, so maybe that has something to do with it. But the outside of this, or at least what would be the left-hand side of this, or the top of the console, however you have it oriented, it's a matte white plastic. Up in the corner here, you have the PlayStation logo, and I think that goes all the way through. I think that shiny black plastic behind there is on the actual console itself. The front of the console, you have those fins up top there, and then you have this long, large system. The interior part here is a glossy black plastic. You're going to have the lights that come in through the vents here when you turn this thing on. You have a USB-C port here, a USB port, a powered USB port there. You have your power button down here. And then you have your eject button here. Of course, here is your Ultra HD Blu-ray drive, and you have that little side, little belly, or whatever you want to call it, on the side there. So not the easiest thing to show you here, but hopefully you're getting an idea, and if you've come to this video, you probably already know what this thing looks like. So on the inside of these fins is a texture that is made up of all of the PlayStation characteristic symbols there. Now you might not be able to tell because it is very, very, very small, but it is, that's what the texture is made of. The outside texture, not so much, it's just the inside texture. You do also see that Sony branding on that fin, not on this fin, and that texture is on both of these panels here. So, moving to the right side of the console, or what would be the bottom of the console, depending on how you have it oriented, you have, again, the kind of belly on this side here for the drive, but these side panels do pop off from the back end here. You can pull them back and pop them off. I don't really remember what side the SSD drive is on. I think it's on this side, but I don't know. On the back of the console, you have a bunch of venting. You have your power port here, you have your HDMI port, you have your Ethernet port, you have your two USB 3.0 ports here, and then you have a Kensington lock up top here. So if we can give you a kind of idea of what this looks like, you can take a look at the top and the shape of this thing. It is a little unwieldy, especially the way I have this here, but hopefully this is giving you an idea of the unique shape of this system held in my hands here. So on the bottom of the console, I have a little painter's tape covering up the serial number over here. You would not see that when you get this brand new, but I just did that for this video. You see some venting down here, and this is where you would put the stand. So I think this might come out here. This little, yes it does. So you see right there, that comes out so that you can put the stand in there. And let's see if I can put that back in. There we go. It's a little plastic piece there that covers up the screw hole. And you have all of your, Sony information here telling you what the model number is and the UL certification and whatnot. Okay, so finally I get my hands on the DualSense controller. And these are literally my first impressions. So it does have a full feeling to it. And I have a dual shock here. So obviously a different style, but definitely a different feel as well. Definitely a little more in terms of shape like the Xbox controller, but definitely a very unique controller. You have these adaptive triggers, which have little gears in them that will increase resistance depending on what you're playing. At this time, from what I understand, That feature is only supported by the PlayStation 5. If you use this as a PC controller, that would not be the case. So it has a unique look. I'm sure this is not new to you, the way it looks, but I'll give you my impressions of, what it feels like in hand. The analog sticks seem very normal. They are slightly different than the original or the DualShock 4 analog sticks. Same style in terms of shape. You have this kind of lip on the sides with a little bit of a convex area on the inside. It goes in, but there's a convex nature to it. Both feel very... there's a grippy nature to it. Of course, it is made out of rubber, some sort of rubber material. You do have a greater texture around the sides, though, that you don't have on these analog sticks. You have the speaker on here, which is slightly different in terms of style. You have 2 rows of holes on the DualSense, where you had 3 rows of holes on the DualShock. You do have a PlayStation button, but it is no longer round. It is shaped like the PlayStation logo. You also have an LED down here, which is also a button. That's a mute button, and looks like there's an LED, so probably will be one color when you're not on mute, and another color when it is muted. So, oh, look at that, turned on the controller. So you do have that light, but you don't have that big light area there, which hopefully will do wonders for the battery life on this. So you do have a microphone built in to the controller, which should be interesting. I know Astro's Playroom has some features where you're going to have to use that. So they really make use of all the different features of this controller. The controller feels very sturdy. Obviously, you do have the 2-tone color here. You have this matte black plastic with this white matte plastic. The buttons are very reminiscent of the PlayStation Vita. Also had these kind of acrylic type buttons. So you have all of the characteristic PlayStation buttons here, the square, triangle, circle, and X, but they did get rid of the colors of those buttons this generation, which probably don't need at this point in time. Plus, it kind of makes the aesthetic better when you only have to deal with colors of the same palette and not have to worry about different colors on the buttons. The D-pad is, again, that kind of acrylic D-pad there, and we'll see how things work in practice. The buttons on the side of the touchpad, one is a create button and one, I believe, is a menu button. The touchpad is back and it's clicky. Different style to it, though. It's like a trapezoid, whereas it was a rectangle before. And those are the face buttons. Now let's turn our attention to the bumpers and triggers. So you can see there is a difference there. The old-style DualShock 4, or now old-style DualShock 4, had sort of a space between those buttons. On the DualSense, they are butted up against each other, and the buttons are bigger. So let's take a listen. Everything feels pretty robust. Feels like a well-made controller. Now, there is a light bar, as we kind of discussed before. Let's see if we can get that going again. Behind this touchpad area. Up here, it will tell you what player you are if you're in a multiplayer game. And of course, the light generally shows the health of your character at a glance. On the bottom here is the charging area, and it looks like a 3.5mm headphone jack there as well. Up top here you have the Sony branding as well as the USB-C port. You can use that for charging or connecting it. Now on the bottom here of the grips, you can see that there's sort of looks like it's cut off there. and that's the stylistic choice. You don't need to extend them further than they are. Very comfortable controller. Thus far, I haven't obviously played a game with it yet, but thus far I like it. On the bottom here you have that texture, and I believe that is the texture made up of all those triangle, circle, square, and X's all on there. And of course that only extends to the grips themselves. On the back here you have a reset button. You have a secondary mic here as well as a Sony branding and all of the interesting information here. The model number on this is CFI-ZCT1W. And it has a 1500 milliamp battery. Hopefully that will give you longer gaming sessions without actually having to recharge this. For reference purposes, the DualShock 4 had an 800 milliamp battery, so it's almost doubled in capacity. So that is the DualSense controller, and thus far looks very comfortable. And I'm anxious to try out the new features on this. In my last video, I showed you the charging dock for this, so we might as well just see. I don't have it plugged in. I unplugged it here. We're not going to worry about that right now. I just want to see how easy it is to just kind of put it in the dock, and hopefully you don't have to line things up too much to actually get it to, connect. So if I put it in here, all right. Okay, it's pretty easy. You just kind of wiggle it around until it seats itself, and there you go. I don't have a second controller, but this is how I will be charging this DualSense controller here. You can see it sits in there very nicely, really secure, and the way that works is you have these contacts that that are revealed by this plastic piece when you put the controller in there, and then you have this black plastic peg that goes into the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack there, and that will help you seat it properly. So it seems a little bit easier than lining up the connector on the DualShock 4 version of this charging dock. So here is my entertainment system area here. I like to have everything stacked vertically. I have my home theater PC. I have my Wii U, which doesn't get a whole lot of use. I have my Xbox with the names of these Xboxes. It is the Xbox One S. There we go. I've actually never played a game on that. I've only used it as an Ultra HD Blu-ray player. And there is my 500 million PlayStation 4 console there. So I know that the PlayStation 5 will not fit the way it is set up right now. So I'm going to have to make some modifications here. Now, I might have to put it horizontally, which would be this way. So that's going to fit in there nicely horizontally, but I'm going to still attempt to make it vertical in here, but I'm going to have to move the shelf. So I have one option to move the shelf down. I have a receiver down below, and I have one more notch I can bring it down, and then we'll see if that's going to even work. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to put everything horizontal in here, which I don't really want to do. So for reference, there is my 500 million commemorative PlayStation 4 Pro console, and here is the PS5. The depth of the PlayStation 4 was always a little bit of a sticking point for me because it made it difficult to fit into entertainment centers. So I'm glad that they made the PlayStation 5 more narrow. It is obviously, I don't know, about 4 inches taller, and it is definitely a lot wider. But I'm not complaining. I just am stating facts for those of you who might have difficulty trying to fit this in somewhere. But again, like I said, the positive is that it's not as deep as this system, so it makes it easier to fit in. So it kind of goes back to the old PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 days, where it's actually wider than it is deep. Good news to start. The PlayStation 5 does fit vertically in here, and it does dwarf everything, and there's a little bit of clearance on top. Now, the bad news is that the stand isn't on here, so we're going to see how that is going to factor in. Now, I don't think you need the stand, but it probably will help with the airflow. So let's take a look at how the stand actually comes into play here. So I have high hopes that I'm going to actually be able to put this in the vertical position, because it does look like the stand doesn't add a whole lot to the height of this, but we'll see. So the first thing I want to do is actually put it in the other orientation, in the horizontal orientation, because once I put it in the vertical orientation, and if it works, then I won't be able to show you what it, how it works in the horizontal orientation. So again, as we kind of looked at in the unboxing, you can rotate this. If this is to the back, this bracket area is to the back, then this kind of goes in, but when you rotate it, it pushes it up, so it makes it very stable. So that's going to work with the contours of this console. I would imagine the revision of the PlayStation 5, when that does happen, is going to be a lot more simplistic than this. But I enjoy the uniqueness of this. So the drive is on the bottom. So the one thing to remember, I would imagine, when you're actually using this in practice, is that if you have it vertical, you want to make sure that the bottom of the disc is always pointing outward, which is somewhat counterintuitive, but when it's in the horizontal orientation, it's going to be very intuitive. So on the back here, what you want to do is you want to locate the PlayStation symbols. I don't know if you can see that here, but I don't think you can actually. The symbols are right here. It's about this wide where the symbols are. It's on the inside of the white area here. You want to locate those, and you want to snap this on that area on the console itself. So now this is going to meet with the contours of the console, as you can see. So it doesn't really latch on. I mean, it's friction based, so you kind of push it on, and there you go. And then you put it down like this, and there is no wobble to this at all. So that's how the base looks when it's in the horizontal orientation. Fortunately for my setup, I don't think I'm going to have to do that. So let's turn this way. We're going to make sure that the bracket part is in the back, where this is loose here, and turn this over. Now there's a screw in here that you want to pull out. Then, if you remember to the beginning part of the video, there is a little plastic piece in here that you want to remove. So now that I have that, I want to put this little peg in this hole here. There we go, for safekeeping. Now this hole is where the screw is going to go through, right there. So I got my screwdriver here. You could probably use a coin or maybe your fingernail. Let's first get all the dust off of here, and then put this on the back. So it lines up very nicely here, and I think I'll just put it on its top. There we go. On the fins, be very careful with that. And put the screw in here and screw it down. You have these 3 rubberized strips on the bottom here, which will give it a grip. There we go. The vertical stand is on, and there we go. The way it looks the best, in my opinion, is in a vertical orientation. So let's get this thing into my cabinet. Now I've kind of rearranged things in here. So the tallest console will be in the middle. The two tallest consoles will be in the middle, and the shortest ones will be on the outside. So before I plug anything in, let's just make sure that it slides in without any issue. Ah, yes, just fitting. Just fitting here. Very little bit to spare. So I'm very happy that I'm going to be able to get the vertical orientation in here. Now I just have to plug these in. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the clearance that I have there. Very, 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 very little. Now you'll notice that I actually have shutters on the back of this. They don't move. I mean, the louvers move, but the shutters don't open. I installed that in the back of this so that I could close the glass and still have a lot of ventilation in there. So as you can see, that is the size next to a Wii U and an Xbox Series, not Xbox Series, Xbox One S, and then my Lenovo PC, which I've yet to post the videos on, but that is my home theater PC. Now below that I have my receiver. Now there's not a lot of clearance above here for ventilation. However, the entire back of this has nothing behind here. So those shutters there don't extend. I think they only extend to about here or so. So there's a lot of ventilation in the back. It's totally open. Plus these things are meant to be stacked. So you would have components stacked on there. So there is, I can fit my finger in there a little bit. So there's enough ventilation up top there. Plus on the sides, there's ventilation there as well. So hopefully that is not going to present a problem. But that is my setup. So all the preparation is done. Now it's time to fire this thing up for the very first time. Looks very familiar. So I like that startup sequence. The first thing that comes to mind, though, is that the sound is very low. So I had to kind of crank up the volume on my receiver. So it's obviously telling me to connect the DualSense controller straight to the console. So let me do that right now. So USB-C. Right into...
Connect your controller to the console with the USB cable and press the PS button.
There we go.
Conecta tu control a la consola con un cable USB y pulsa el botón PS.
Let's see how many
Branchez
languages.
votre manette sur la console à l'aide d'un câble USB, puis appuyez sur la touche PS.
Connect your controller to the console with the USB cable and press the PS button.
So let's follow its instructions.
Conecta tu control à la console à l'aide d'un câble USB, puis appuyez sur la touche PS.
All right.
Select your language. English, United States. Press the cross button to select and the circle button to go back. Continue with the screen reader turned on. Continue. Please wait. Adjust display area. The circles should fill the screen without showing black borders. If the circles are cut off, or you see black borders, press the up and down buttons to adjust the display area. Select the OK button to skip the adjustment. You can adjust this later in the settings menu. To make your screen image larger, press the up button. To make your screen image smaller, press the down button. OK button. Press cross to select. Cross button, select. Circle button, back.
So it's as big as it can get, and I don't know if I like the the walkthrough, but it's probably making things very easy so people don't have any problems asking questions if it actually takes you by the hand and walks you through the process. I have it as large as I can get it, so we're just going to hit OK.
Adjust HDR 1 out of 3. Adjust your PS5's HDR, high dynamic range, setting to optimize the video quality of your games. Press the up and down buttons to adjust the brightness until the symbol is barely visible. Select the next button to skip the adjustment. You can adjust this later in the settings menu. To make the symbol brighter, press the up button. To make the symbol darker, press the down button. Next button. Press cross to select. Cross button, select. Circle button, back.
So what I'm going to attempt to do here is actually unplug the controller because I think it's synced up at this point, so I don't need it connected because I only have probably about, I don't know, 5 feet or so, and I want to stand back, especially when I'm setting up the HDR on this. So let's see, unplugged, and yeah, it's still working, as one would expect. So I'm just kind of back here where I would be, and as you heard, you can always adjust this. We're going to make it barely visible. That looks good, maybe that one. We'll go with this one here.
Adjust HDR 2 out of 3. Adjust this setting a second time. Press the up and down buttons to adjust the brightness until the symbol is barely visible. To make the symbol brighter, press the up button. To make the symbol darker, press the down button. Next button. Press cross to select. Cross button, select. Circle button, back.
That's barely visible right there.
Adjust HDR 3 out of 3. One last time. Press the up and down buttons to adjust the brightness until the symbol is barely visible. Select the OK button to skip the adjustment. You can adjust this later in the settings menu. To make the symbol brighter, press the up button. To make the symbol darker, press the down button. OK button. Insert a game disc. If you have a game disc, insert it now and we'll install it while you continue with setup. Continue without disc. Button. Press cross to select. Cross button, select. Circle button, back.
So unfortunately, I do not have a PlayStation 5 disc. So we're going to continue without the disc.
Power options for rest mode.
So I think we're going to go with the optimized experience.
Okay. PlayStation 5 system software.
I definitely don't want to
license
hear her
agreement.
read this entire thing.
I agree.
So I'm going to
Select
agree and confirm.
Update system software. Update the system software. System software update. Please wait.
Okay.
Loading.
So it is a little bit tedious to listen, as you probably have decided for yourself as well. I do want to give you the full experience of this. That's why I'm letting you hear what I'm hearing as I set this up. At the beginning of this, if you wanted to,
Update.
you don't have to do this.
Button.
Where she
Press
reads
cross to
everything.
select. System
But
software
I thought it was a
update.
good idea to do it. There is a big update here. It says over an hour, which is interesting. So, it says access this website on your smartphone. I'm surprised she didn't read this, but you can use that QR code to sign into your PlayStation network. I think I'm just gonna let this ride through, and it seems like it's getting longer and longer and longer. I guess a lot of people have their brand new PlayStation 5 and they're probably overloading the server here. I do have very fast internet. I wonder if I should do a wired internet to make this faster. Wow, 3 hours it's saying. Alright, so as you can see, it's giving me 6 hours estimated. Pretty much it stopped at 10.43 megabytes out of 868 megabytes for the update. So it is not moving, it has not moved. I would imagine it's because the servers have been slammed because of everybody getting their new PlayStation 5. So what I'm gonna do, unfortunately, is end the video here and edit this video in the meantime. And then I will put post a follow-up video on this. Hopefully the process moves a little bit. I would be more encouraged if I saw that it was moving even a little bit, but it hasn't. So that's a little bit discouraging, especially on launch day, to have a day one patch where you're waiting hours for this. So I'm going to end this video here and pick up with a follow-up video. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. If you like what you see, please subscribe. And as always, if you want to help out this channel, you can give me a thumbs up. You can share this video on your favorite social media, or you can actually join my Patreon, all of which is greatly appreciated. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.